All right, hello there everyone. You really need to pay attention to this video because I'm going to explain how I went from 0 rentals to 25 rentals in just under 4 years. And I dare say, if Mazske can do this, all of you can do this. Don't make excuses. Don't point fingers and say, Mazske, you did it. You got lucky. You did something that no one else can do. Because look around. Look at Michael Zuber. People could say, look at you. You cheated. You went from 8 to 80 when the recession occurred. You could look at Dion Talks. You could look at Millennial Mike. You could look at Chad Carson. Don't make excuses. I'm going to tell you everything I did in probably 15 minutes or so, hopefully, on how I went from 0 to 25. Couple caveats. My kids were grown. My personal primary residence was paid off. Okay? Maybe you're not in that situation. That's okay. You tweak what I did, put it to your own situation, and I will guarantee you have all the information you need to go from 0 to 25. Maybe you don't do it just in 4 years, but it's up to you. It's not up to Mazske to hold your hand. It's up to you to do the exact same thing. All right? So with that being said, I'm not a CPA. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an attorney. I'm going to share a story of how a low-income, middle-class guy who raised 2 kids on a very tight budget while he was working for one of the lowest paid police departments in the entire country went from 0 to 25 rentals. All right, you ready? Sit back, tighten that seat belt, and stay tuned. Green tea, gotta love it. All right, in late 2016, I was on vacation down in Savannah, Georgia. I was trying to find an area in the country I wanted to move to, and I stayed in an Airbnb. On this Airbnb property, there were 3 houses. I met the owner. I discussed with her how I'd like to get into rental property, and we talked about me buying that property. I didn't buy that property. And fast forward to I went back to the Shenandoah Valley, started looking around, and in January of 2017, I bought my very first rental house. I bought it for $97,000. All right, how did I buy this? I put 25% down. 25% down, you can ballpark and say it's roughly $25,000. All right, with closing costs, it's over that. All right, I had about that much cash in the bank, I think, around there. Prior to that, when I got back from Savannah, I went to a local credit union and I got a HELOC because my house was paid off. And I got a very small HELOC. They tried to talk me into getting a large HELOC, like $100,000, $150,000, something bigger. I said I only want a $30,000 HELOC. I did not want to get into trouble. I did not want to overextend myself. All right, so I used roughly $17,000 of that HELOC towards my down payment / closing costs. Okay, so I paid a little bit of cash, but I used a large portion of my down payment was my HELOC money. All right, so as that year went on, I almost sold that house. I had to evict my very first tenant. I was frustrated. I had been a successful stock investor, and I was like, maybe I'll just stick with stocks. Maybe I'll stick with stocks. But I stuck it out. And by summertime, I had gotten my first tenant out, and I got a second tenant in there. Life was good. I was getting rent. And then as the year progressed, in December of 2017, I bought my second property, my second rental house. It was $97,500. I had learned by then, don't put 25% down, put 20% down. So I put 20% down. That 20%, I believe, was mostly cash, because I had some cash in the bank. And I used a tiny bit of HELOC money. Now, with that being said, throughout 2017, I was working full-time as a cop. I learned I needed to ramp up, work more overtime, because I was going to retire, and save as much as I could. So my cash was building. But remember, I worked for the lowest paid police department in the entire country, I dare say. Even now, I think they're the lowest paid police department. All right, switch gears to 2018. I was going to retire from my job in April of 2018, April 1st, 2018. I found it just before I retired. I found a triplex. I knew I had a 457 plan. I knew when I left employment, I could be fired, I could retire, I could quit, but when I left employment, I could access that 457 plan and not get penalized, but I had to pay tax on it. Okay, so it was not a lot of money because remember, I didn't have a lot of money. It was roughly $65,000. They took out something like $12,000 in federal and state tax. Okay, so I used that money to buy a triplex that was roughly $200,000. It was run down, beat up, had rents that were averaging $600 a unit. I'm not going to tell all the details on what I did with that. That's a future video. All right, but I got 3 more units. All right, a couple months later in August of 2018, by then I had found bigger pockets. All right, and I had made a contact, Rob Drum in Birmingham, Alabama, and I decided I wanted to buy a house out of my market because I was like, $100,000 for 2 single-family homes, $100,000 each, $200,000 for a triplex. I'm not going to have the cash to get down payments. How can I do this? I got to go cheaper. So I went to Birmingham. Rob drove me around. We looked at half a dozen houses. I decided on one. I bought a house for $45,000. All right, $45,000. That down payment was, I think, approximately $9,000. I, once again, used my HELOC for the majority of it. I can't remember now I don't even think I have the notes. I can't remember. I might have used the HELOC for 100% of it or 80% of that down payment, but I used that HELOC again. And meanwhile, I had been paying the HELOC off. Okay, so it wasn't like I was ramping that HELOC up, max out to 30K. I kept paying it down, it would come back up. I'd pay it down, it would come back up. Okay, so at the end of 2018, I had a total of 6 units. 2 from 2017, single family homes, a triplex and single family home in 2018. That makes 6. So at the end of my second calendar year, I was sitting at 6 units. All right, so 2019 came along. By that time, I found other YouTube channels, and I heard about self-directed IRAs. And it was a hard decision because I had been a successful stock investor. I had stocks, I had Amazon, I had Google, I had this, I had that. I had a great stock portfolio. But I was looking at the market and it's like, it's been on a bull run since 2009, roughly. And yes, it might run some more, but all markets pull back. Every stock market pulls back. But I had done great. But it wasn't a lot of money. I only put a little bit of money into it. So anyway, I sold those stocks, most of them at least, and transferred the money into a self-directed IRA and paid cash for a house in Northwest Indiana. But this time I had found a turnkey provider in Northwest Indiana, Gary, Indiana in particular. Okay, so I paid cash for a house, bought it in my self-directed IRA. That was house number 7. All right, in May of that year, roughly, prior to May, I had made the decision I was going to sell the second house I bought. Second house when I bought it was dirty. There was a bunch of stuff left in it. It needed repairs. It wasn't a burr project, but it was just beat up. I got it under market value, but it was beat up. I paid somebody roughly $1,000 to clean it out. Paid another person roughly $1,000 to fix door jams, replace the door, fix other things. Maybe it was $2,000. I don't remember. But we fixed the house up a little bit. Got some good tenants in there. I offered the house to them. They turned me down. I told them first I have to raise the rent after a year. They said they couldn't afford to pay any more rent. I told them I wanted to sell the house, offered to them. They turned me down. So I basically put the house on the market, come about, and sold it in May. Sold it to an out-of-state buyer who wanted to move there. They paid cash. All right, I made a profit, not a lot of profit, but I got back my 20% down payment. I had a little bit of mortgage pay down, and I got the profit there. So I got a little chunk of money. I don't remember exactly what that was. So when I had that cash, I also had some cash in the bank. I bought then, because remember that I had 7 houses, that dropped me down to 6. All right, but then I bought 4 more houses in Gary, Indiana from the turnkey provider, which is Olson, the Olson Group. All right, so I bought 4 more houses. That was number 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, so 4 more houses. And then during the course of all that, from Clayton Morris on one of his videos, he's the one that taught me about self-directed IRAs, and he's the first person I ever heard talk about 401k loans. My wife had a 401k, and I looked into it, and I was like, by golly, we can take a 401k loan. So we used a 401k loan. I went back to Alabama. And this, I might have done this before I bought the 4 up in Indiana, but I went back to Alabama, had another contact from a property manager I was using who found me a house. I did a burr house. I did a successful burr. I bought it cheap. I rehabbed it for a chunk of money, almost my buy price I rehabbed it for. When it appraised for higher than like 30 grand or so higher than all my money in there. I did a cashback refinance that did not put money in my pocket, but I fully paid off the 401k loan. It fully paid closing costs. So I called that my free house, because there's no money out of pocket to buy it. Okay, I used the 401k loan. Within 6 months or so, we completely paid the 401k loan off. All right. So when we wrapped up 2019, Mazske was sitting at 11 properties. 11 properties. All right. I didn't go into detail on how I bought any of those 11, but I covered them. If you want more information on how I did any of it, let me know in the comments and I will dig a little bit deeper. All right. But then 2020 came. When 2020 came, I was getting serious about this game. I was like, by golly, if other people can do it, I can do it. And I can use this to not only replace my income, and I retired by then, I was on a pension, and I was working in a YMCA part-time, making near minimum wage. See, a minimum wage job, near. I got some raises because I'm a good worker. But still, I wasn't making a lot of money. So, but I was working. And so when 2020 started, I got very serious about things. All right. So then I looked at my wife's Roth IRA, which I've been buying stocks in that, and I sold those stocks, put them into a self-directed IRA, and bought another house, paid cash for that house. All right. So I bought that house. And then my contacts up in Indiana, my property manager, they called me one day and said, we got a guy who wants to sell 4 properties. And they told me about all 4. And all 4, I wanted all 4. I wanted all 4. But I started looking at them. One was cheaper, and it was a really good deal. And I knew we couldn't get a mortgage on it. And I ran the numbers, and I really wanted all 4, but it would just take my money. So I contacted a buddy of mine. He ran his numbers, I guess, and decided to get 2, and I got 2. So I picked out 2 houses. He had to get mortgages. I had enough cash to pay cash for the cheap house and then get 1 mortgage. So I paid cash for 1 house. It was $18,000. All right. It had been partially rehab, and I was told the investor ran out of money. I put another $5,000 or $6,000 into it. It all in with closing cost was $24,500. It was a completely rehabbed house. It's a cute house. I don't remember if it's 2-1 or 3-1, but it's a cute house. It is still rented today. It's still a cute house. My tenant has said they want to buy the house. It rents for like $850, I think, maybe $900. And it's a $24,000 house, you know. So anyway, the second house was a mortgage house. I might be confusing things. My mortgage house might be the one that the tenant wants to buy. But that house was $40,000 for the mortgage house. That was my cheapest mortgage, $40,000. I put 20% down, so the mortgage was for like $32,000. Okay, because I didn't have the cash to pay cash. So I got a mortgage for it. All right. So those 2 houses came from my property manager, a contact that he had. The same property manager, shout out Kurt and Vicky, they've helped me tremendously in this. I get on them sometimes, but without them, I wouldn't be where I am. All right. So hopefully, and I've brought other investors to them. So hopefully I've helped them just like they've helped me. All right, so then I found out about a gentleman who owned a lot of houses. And he was older, and he was basically self-managing 500 rental units. And he wanted to downsize. And I bought, in 2020, a total of 9 properties from him. All right, I bought them first in a group of 4, and then a group of 5. The 4 were bought not at the exact same time, but right around the same time in the summertime. June, July, August, somewhere in there, I got those 4. And the next 5, it drug on. And I really got on them a lot, the seller. And I was like, I got to close on these before the end of the year. So we closed like on December 27th. Okay, it took that long. All right, but while I was like chomping at the bit to get those last 5 houses, I started looking at the MLS. And I found a house on the MLS up there in Indiana, and it was like $59,000, $59,500, and it was a nice house. It was, you know, and it needed about $1,000 of work to clean it up, and maybe touch up paint or something. But it was a nice house, so I bought that house. A week later, while that one was in the process of buying, I found a second house, and I was like, wow, this is another decent house. It was the same price, about it was 59. One was 59, one was 59.5. So I bought that house. I got 2 more mortgages, bought those 2 houses. So by the end of the year, rehash it real quick, because that was 14 houses. Got 1 in a self-directed IRA. Bought 1 I paid cash for, $18,000. Bought a second one I got a mortgage on, that was $40,000. I bought 9 seller financed houses. Those 9 houses I bought, seller financed, this is what happened. The guy selling them he wanted 15-year amortization. When I ran the numbers, it wouldn't work for me. I needed money because I knew I had a bigger plan. I wanted to move down to Florida. I knew I couldn't live. I would need more units to live off that. 15-year amortization, my cash flow would have been, say, $150 a unit. I needed $250 or more to survive. So I thought about it. I called him up and talked to him, told him what I wanted to do. And I told him I can't swing this. And he said, well, I can't do 30-year amortization because I'm old. I'm going to die. I'm not going to live 30 more years. And I said, well, sir, how about we do something like this? What about if we do 30-year amortization, but at 15 years, I owe you the balance, the balloon payment. I owe you whatever's left on the mortgage, I owe it to you in 15 years. Everything else will stay the same. Mortgage, the interest rate was 4.9%. And he thought about it and said, I'll do that. So I got these 9 houses, seller financing, 4.9% interest, 20% down, 30-year amortization, 15-year balloon. Okay? So when 15 years is up, if I haven't paid any of these houses off or refinanced them, I will owe a chunk of money because you really don't pay off a lot of your mortgages in 15 years. The bulk of the payment comes in the last 15 years, not the first 15 years because you're paying interest. Okay? But they were all cheap houses. They were all cheap houses. Those houses ranged in price from, say, around $30,000 to around $55,000. Those houses now are worth, let's say, a low of $55,000, $60,000 to a high of $90,000 or $100,000. Okay, so trust me, the wheels are turning on what I'm going to do with those. All right, so and then I got 2 houses off the MLS. It was like in November of 2020 when I closed on them. Okay, so I got 14 houses altogether in 2020. I had 11 houses prior. That gave me 25 houses. All right. I closed on the last one is December 27th of 2020. I bought number 1, January 17th of 2017. That was a roughly 47 months, just shy of 4 years. I never made a lot of money. You could throw out my 2 houses in my self-directed IRA because you could say, Mazske, you had money in the stock market, you made a chunk of money, you paid cash for these 2 houses in self-directed IRAs. Okay, so throw them out. I have 23 houses in 4 years. All right, one of them, we used a 401k loan to buy. It was the BRRRR strategy. Okay, it was a successful out-of-state long-distance BRRRR strategy. Okay, so I'm here to say, there's nothing special about me. I never made a lot of money. I did not grow up with a silver spoon in my pocket. I was one of 5 kids. Never made a lot of money. I was a blue-collar cop working for about the lowest paid police department in the country. Okay? I raised 2 kids. They both went to the United States Military Service Academy, free education. All right? So I knew how to be a parent. I know how to be an investor. I don't have a lot of subscribers on this channel. I've debated shutting this channel down. Part of me wants to shut it down because it's like, I'm only helping you, I'm not helping me. All right? But I'm going to try to stick it out for a while longer. I will guarantee you, if you listen to everything I just said in this video, if you go back and watch all my videos, there is no reason why you cannot do the exact same thing that Mazske has done, that Chad Carson has done, that Dion from Dion Talks has done, that Dominic Costeras, public high school teacher up in the Windy City, has done, that Michael Zuber has done. None of us are special people. None of us. 1 out of those made a lot of money in their job. No one else made a lot of money. Chad Carson started straight out of college when he was 22 with no money, but he got a partner. Okay? We all have different stories of how we did it. It's up to you to create your own story. It's not up to Mazske to create it for you. Okay? It's not up to Mazske to hold your hand. It's up to you to create it. Get creative. Get creative in all aspects of investing. Look at your income. If you can't do it on your income, daggone it, increase your income. Get another job, work a side hustle. Don't make a YouTube channel because you might never get monetized, but increase your income. All right? Cut expenses. The one thing I did all my life since I was a kid, I've been frugal. I've gotten more frugal as the years went on because I had to, because I had 2 kids. I pulled that belt as tight as I could pull it till I could barely breathe, but I did it. And there's sometimes you got to buckle down and you got to just do your darndest to do it. You got to do it. It's not that hard, all right? But it doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey. It takes a long time, but you can speed it up. I did it in 4 years. I did it though after a lifetime of being frugal and paying my primary residence off. So what? Millennial Mike out there, you're going to hear this. You're house hacking. You make more money than I made. Buckle down, buddy. You can do it. We're going to do a video later, Millennial Mike and myself, and I'm going to give you an idea of how you can spin up to get up into the 20s. Helicopter Pilot Caleb, if you hear this, buckle down, buddy. You can do it. Bill, odds are you won't hear this, but buckle down. You got like 8 or 10. Ramp it up. Everyone in my mastermind group, my 2 boys, you don't watch my channel, buckle down. Ramp it up. My youngest son's 24, just bought his first rental. My oldest son's 29, he has 5. My buddy Will, you got the potential, you got 5. There is no reason why you can't get 25 in the next couple years. Buckle down. All of you, Tyler, you came to my house, spent a night here. Buckle down, get more. All of you, Rich, Evan, everyone's been on my channel except for Dominic because you're already up there in the 50s. Buckle down. It's not that hard. Fabiola, I think it was you I met. I'm losing track of names. We sat down at Starbucks. If I can do it, you can do it. The young lady who I gave a credit card referral to, you're in the 2%. I don't know you very well, but buckle down. You can do it. There is no reason. There's no reason at all. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, Hispanic, yellow, purple, red, or blue. Doesn't matter if you're short, tall, fat, thin. Doesn't matter if you're 21 years old. Doesn't matter if you're 60 years old. All right? All of us are different. It doesn't matter if you're living in the United States of America or you're living somewhere else. But if you're outside the U.S., it may or may not be harder. All right? I'm here to say, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, if I can do this, so can each one of you. Now, with that being said, only 2% of society will do this. And most of them won't do what I did. But that 2%, they'll get there. But if you're new to this channel and you want to get there, you can get there. All right? That's my story. I'm sticking to it. I will do some follow-up videos eventually, talking about into a little more detail on different things. All right? Good enough. Have a great day. Mazskes signing out.